looks like talking about V-Rising's problems on YouTube is not a very popular thing to do. But despite the fact that the blood-drinking fans of the game are probably going straight up to the dislike button right now, chill, calm down, man. I played a lot of the game, I have a lot to say, good stuff and bad stuff, and I think it's worth making a video about the game that took like 2 weeks from my life playing non-stop. Quick disclaimer before I start the video. The things I will discuss here are my personal opinion after 140 hours playing the game. Feel free to leave your opinion in the comments. Remember to always maintain respect though. And I'm not hating on the game or anything like that. I'm just telling my experience with it, not just mine, but I'll throw in a little clips of people that had the same problems with me along the video. And I also know that the developers are aware of a lot of these issues. They even communicated with the players a little bit, but they even said some of these issues will not be fixed for a long time. The problems are there, they are aware of it, and they still won't fix it. So here's the video talking about my experience with the game. Anyway, so the game is addictive.
This game was so fucking addicting. It was a problem. It was so addicting. I had a problem playing it.
The first time you play, you just feel like you have tons of stuff to do and enjoy, and you just dive into it, and that's where the problems start. I played this game non-stop for like 4 or 5 days on a PvP server, and I have like 70 hours on the record on the last days. Usually a game being addictive is a good thing, right? Well, unless all of the content is a one-time journey and locked behind a linear grinding progression system. And that's where the big deal is. If you want to like the game, there is something there that makes you get addicted to it, but the game itself, it's hard to enjoy because there's no replayability, and sometimes it feels like a chore. Devs made sure you had to do the same thing every time to progress throughout the game, which means if you play on a PvP server and the server gets wiped after a month or 2 or whatever, you have to do all the same things all over again. Same thing for the PvE server, but in the PvP server it's even worse because it's harder to get stuff. But before we dive into the game's problems, let me talk about the mechanics, the gameplay feature, and overall how the game works. So, V-Rising is a vampire survival game made by Stunlock Studios. It was launched May 17, 2022. The game has strong PvE progression and a solid combat system. The combat is similar to Battlerite, a previous Stunlock Studios project that unfortunately died. The games try to do a weird mix of action RPG like Diablo with a hardcore survival game like Rust or Scum, and it does work until a certain point. The game tries to differ from the classic XP leveling system and goes for a more practical approach. The progress involves you tracking and absorbing V-Blood units. It works like a boss fight to unlock new magical skills and crafting abilities. And then you'll be grinding materials around the map to craft the machine or bench or workstation that will let you craft the new gear. The gear is your level, and your gear score improves every time you equip a new armor or weapon. There are 6 different magical skill trees. Each boss you defeat will unlock you a new power. You can also get stronger by absorbing NPCs with a high blood score. There are different blood types on every enemy. After all, you're a vampire and blood must be a thing. Each enemy has a percentage of quality that varies from 0 to 100, and the abilities that blood will give you vary to each blood type and quality. There are currently 7 blood types in the game: Brute, Rogue, Warrior, Scholar, Creature, Worker, Mutation, and Frail. Frail blood is the standard blood you have. It won't give you any bonus whatsoever. Eventually, your blood will drain out by using abilities and healing yourself, and you can't refill the same blood type after you kill the guy that had that blood, but you can capture and send the NPC to your castle's prison instead of killing it right away. To make this easier, there's a new craftable item called the Dust Collar. This thing makes your life so much easier. Now you don't have to manually bring your servant or NPC back to the castle, running around the map hoping that the NPC you charmed won't die along the way by a player or a mob or anything like that. And this NPC that you charmed and put in the prison can be transformed into a servant. Servants are used to protect your castle. You can also send them on missions to bring out supplies. The missions take a lot of time in the vanilla mode, up to, I don't know, 23 hours. It's just too much time. And if you're playing on your own server, you need to leave it on, otherwise the time won't count. You can also also give some equipments for your servants so their gear score level will level up, and then you can send them on harder missions and use them to protect the castle against other invading players. A pretty cool mechanic, never seen this in any other game. So this linear crafting progression system works really well with PvE, but in PvP is a mess, and I will elaborate this further in the video. As a survival game, you can also build your castle, and the game will make you unlock new types of tile floors, each castle rooms. If you close a room with this type of ground, the game will offer 25% bonus discount of the materials you need to craft different types of items. So you have a prison floor, crypt floor, forge floor, and it goes on. The game incentivizes you to separate each crafting station from another, and with the new update you can finally have a castle with more than one floor level. You can now have up to 6 floors in your castle, and you can change that in the service settings before creating a reward. So yeah, now you can finally have a vampire tower. V-Rising had a surprisingly nice start with 150,000 players online at its launch days, and famous content creators trying the game out throughout streaming platforms. But the game was almost dead a few weeks ago. Numbers diminished as low as 3,000 players online. It is insane how many players the game lost. The developers will not release any new content to the game for 1 year under the early access tag, and now on 18 May 2023, 1 year after its release, it finally received a well-deserved update, the Gloomrot update. But in just a week after the new update, the game already lost around 20,000 players. So what's wrong? Everyone says it's a good game, good combat, a lot of stuff for you to do, but the game is still on early access with good amount of content and people just quit. Well, I will say this right away. Early access nowadays is a weird tag and people use it as a shield to protect the game from criticism. So no, for me, this time, I don't believe in the early access excuse. This game is there for you to spend money and play and even buy DLC. People seem to defend this game like crazy, saying the game is still incomplete and you can't point out the problems because it is on early access, still in development, incomplete. You know what else is technically incomplete then? Every single game out there that receives an update, because if the devs want to, they can always say that the game is not its final version. No Man's Sky, GTA Online, CSGO, even Left 4 Dead 2, a game released in 2009, receives updates every now and then. So yeah, okay, I get it. They are big companies with old games already established in the industry, and I'm just speaking out a small project, V-Rising. But you know what other early access games started as a small project and now they are on the second game that recently received 5 updates in the last 3 months? Sons of the Forest. And the original The Forest took years to release the final version. That's not a problem at all, but they kept updating the game frequently, not once a year. And the problem is you do every single thing in V-Rising that is locked behind a farming and grinding wall. For the first time is okay, you unlock stuff, you do the bosses, and then the server wipes and you have to do it again and again and again. The game takes time, the game is grindy, and it is really good. Something there just pulls you in. But if you have to do the same thing every time again, just like an MMORPG, imagine if World of Warcraft gets, I don't know, wiped every month and everyone has to grind it all over again just to reach the PvP state. I don't know, imagine if Diablo 3 were wiped every month and everyone had to do every single mission again in the same order, unlock the same stuff, so in the end of the month they could finally enjoy the PvP. It doesn't make much sense. And I know, it is normal for survival PvP games to have wipes in the servers, but in V-Rising is even worse. Losing stuff in V-Rising just hits different than losing stuff in Rust, Scum, or Ark. You actually have to grind like 5 different materials at a time, create gear, then kill the boss with that gear to unlock new ways to craft gear, then you have to farm materials to craft the stuff, to craft the gear, then you have to do this all competing with other players just to be able at the end of the game do some fair PvP. Then after a while do it all again, because otherwise if you don't have materials to fix your gear, your stuff will break and then you lose everything anyway in a server wipe. If you take the game seriously, you just can't stop playing. Otherwise you get raided on a weekend that you're not online, or your castle decays because you didn't put enough blood on the heart and someone just goes there and destroys it. Last time I was playing this game, after I tasted the true natures of the game PvP on my own, I just dropped the game like a lot of people. I got raided by 4 guys in a PvP server and lost a week of progress in a few minutes. I just came back for the update and the PvP is still the same.
I do want to play this though. I just don't know what the right way of approaching V-Rising is. The last time I played, I went heavy, like full loot PvP, but it ended up being such a grief fest that it drawed me away. and it made me ultimately stop playing the game.
So from a technical standpoint, the game is made for PvE and co-op, but the PvP is there. And on the PvP mode, you can't truly find the focus on the game. If you look at the PvE mode, the game is a one-time play thing. That's why everyone just drops the game. You do the progression, craft the gear, run around the map, defeat bosses, improve your castle, and that's it. You don't want to do it all again because sometimes the game is a pain in the ass, making you run around the map with resources like an idiot, not being able to teleport or transform into a bat with the resources. That's an option you can turn off into your server, but then no one joins it. But anyway, now imagine doing all of that, running around the map, grinding materials, and just 4 max level players show up, kill you, and steal all your stuff. Oh yeah, and your gear will lose 12% of its durability. So you just go back for your loot, or try to fight to that boss again, or come back and try to defend your castle from a raid, and guess what? The same guy will kill you again. The equipment that equals your level is about to break, and now you have to grind another hour just to fix it and not lose the progress you made so far. I have to create this gun with silver, iron, and wood, and then I have to upgrade it to this gun using this ruby and more gold. So it's almost easier to just let the fucking gun break and craft another one than fixing the one you have. I mean, I need 7 gold to fix it, and I need 9 to create a new one, and these ruby things drop fucking everywhere. So it's better if I have a second one to give to my servant than actually fixing the one I have. What the fuck? It doesn't even make sense. And the PvP has even one more problem. The endgame consists in you taking on 3 bosses and taking their shards. The shard is something that will give you passive bonuses, making you insanely powerful, and the game throws in the goal for you to steal these 3 shards. But usually one really strong group of PvP players take the shards, and then the game just tells you, hey, try to go get it. But it's basically impossible for you to defeat these guys because they have the passive abilities of the shards, and they have been playing non-stop like crazy people. They are really strong. It's basically impossible for you to do anything. So yeah, the end game is basically a grinding hellfest with you trying to take the shard from really strong people. And it's actually easier for them to go raid and destroy you than you try to steal 1 shard. So yeah, it's pretty damn unbalanced and not fun at all. So for you to enjoy V-Rising, I'm just gonna give a tip for you right away. Just play the PvE version of this game.
Oh, if I play again, I think I just PvE.
Well, unless you got more patience than Count Dracula himself and you have a ton of time and really love the game and its combat system, then maybe, just maybe, the PvP of V-Rising might be a cup of tea if you are a really hardcore playing guy. But let's be honest, not everyone can afford to dedicate 5 to 6 hours a day to virtual vampirism, plus finding a friend who can match that level of commitment. Good luck. Playing on PvP alone is terrible. You will constantly get ganked by high-level players in teams of 2 to 4, and it is extremely frustrating, and depending on the server configuration, they can raid your castle anytime when you're offline and destroy and steal your hard-earned hours of grinding in just a few minutes. V-Rising's progression system doesn't work well in a PvP environment. I mean, just look at all of the MMOs and action RPGs on the market, or at least most of them. You have a level system, then you have a gear system, and these things exist for ages now, and they exist for a reason. To balance the game progression and especially the PvP. Since in V-Rising the gear is your level just because the sake of it, things start to get a little bit weird. It works fine for PvE, but when you are competing with other players, there is just too much unbalanced stuff. In MMOs, usually, player killers are punished or tagged or debuffed or something like that, and sometimes they even can't kill low-level players at all. But in V-Rising, the gear defines your power level. If you take your gear off, you instantly become a low level. That system make it impossible for the developers to protect low-level players, since you can just take your gear off and lower your level instantly. You could even use that in PvP to trick other players to attack you and come after you. This is not fair, not fun, and the game rewards crazy-ass toxic people that play the game 24/7 with other friends just to keep killing new players that come around. And they will defend this system with their claws and teeth, saying it's a great game, and if you don't like it, well, just play something else. But I bet there'll be a lot of people thinking that exact same thing, or even typing in the comments right now. Okay then, just stop playing the game, move on. Well, that is exactly what me and other 146,000 people did a year ago. That is not fixing the problem of a good game, it is just ignoring it and leaving it to die. Just look at this gameplay footage and tell me if you think this is fun. Well, the devs and a lot of people that ignore the gameplay cycle and design clearly think it is, because still after 1 year, this is a persisting issue in the game. As a newcomer, you have to walk around the map to find a place for you to put your base on. After you unlock the wolf form, you can actually run a little bit faster around here and there. Then you have to go on the upper part of the map to search for horses for you to use, and these horses can get killed anytime. You actually unlock a horse summon ability way in the late game. Many people won't even reach the late game and already quit the game before even having a chance to summon the horse to make the gameplay go faster, because it's just annoying to be running around the map. You only unlock the summon steed power way into the late game, and the bat form is also a thing you unlock in the late game, but you can only use it during nighttime and with no materials on your inventory, making it pretty much used in a few situations. All of that sounds like a skill issue to you? Okay then, I'm sorry I'm not good enough to be dodging players and high level monsters around the map that are double my level. I guess that's part of the game design then, right? Dark Souls style, just get good. I know just complaining won't solve the problem, I know that, and that's why me and a lot of people actually having a few solutions to make the game keep the players from leaving so quickly. The devs have to add a better endgame and more options on server creations to differentiate PvP and PvE mode. It can't be just the same thing, with the only difference being that someone can just steal your stuff and kill you. You have to make PvP more balanced and make a different progress system from PvE. An actual leveling system will be nice to protect low-level players from getting destroyed by high-level ones with no chance of defense, or at least punish high-level players. And you need a leveling system because the gear system alone wouldn't be able to differentiate a high-level player from a low-level one, since they can just change the gear. A good system for PvE and replayability will be implementing AI enemies in the game that simulate vampire enemies. Also being able to roam around the map with your servants to raid towns and wreak havoc on the poor NPC citizens around, or even a wanted system where you get wanted levels on each faction of the game by killing their soldiers around and stealing the materials around the settlements. And then the AI will plan an attack to raid your base or hunt you down around the map. Then we will need PvP crazy players hunting you on the map and riding you when you're offline. There was even a mod that kinda did that on the last version, but right now the public PvP servers of this game are the only kind of endgame content that there is, and they are literally unplayable for normal people with no time to grind all days of the week. And if you play on private servers with extra loot and faster progression, you'll be at the mercy of the server admins. They decide what goes on the server. They can favor a player by dropping items or even just wipe the server tomorrow. You never know. That is why I don't recommend you wasting your time on PvP on this game yet. For the game's price, the PvE content is really worth your time. I recommend creating a local server with 5 times the loot drop and with the faster progression sliders cranked all the way up. This way, you don't die out of boredom farming 7 materials at the same time so your stuff won't break, unless you actually like the hardcore farming, grinding and killing of the PvP and all that. And remember, playing with your friends is always better. So that's it. But anyway, that's just my take on the actual state of V-Rising. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could subscribe to the channel, it is free and would really help me out to bring more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.